We're very temporary species. We're moving at millions of miles an hour through a universe that we don't understand very well, holding on to microcosms that live in our body. So I don't think we understand much about the Anthropocene, what our role in it is. Monty's story needs to be about something that's beyond a human conception of living systems. So I think you need a different kind of storytelling for that than just trying to have a story through the eyes of a human. We need to think through the eyes of living Gaia systems, I would think, and puts Gaia in its place in the universe and its life cycle in the universe. Because Gaia isn't going to end when Earth ends, I believe. I think Gaia as life will become part of other planets, and already Gaia has had collisions from other planets, and so it's receiving interstellar stardust and interstellar water. I think we try to establish in this series. A drop of water from nature is going to contain thousands of beings. Oh, I feel really bad. I have to confess something. So yesterday I scooped up another from the muddy part where there was a little mud puddle that was once the channel where the Arroyo Seco flowed in and filled the whole pond. So you had, evidently they were born there and they stayed there as the pond level decreased, and they got stranded and they were in a little puddle. Oh, it couldn't be in the size of your breakfast bowl of Cheerios or whatever you eat in the morning. So I reached out my hand, I scooped up part of them, and I took them and I put them over in the main pond so that they could live. And I thought, well, who am I, God? What am I, playing God here? I'm not God. Who gives me the right to interfere with their life cycle? So I left the rest of them there. And that's what I feel guilty about, because I went back this morning. They're all dead. The rest of them are dead. The water dried up and they're dead bodies. Now, they'll be part of the organic life cycle. I mean, other species and the microcosm of microorganism.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about what you've said, and I think, when you talk about the anti-story, that's almost the only real story, or at least, you think about it, the dinosaurs could have built a wonderful civilization for all we know.
Yeah.
They could have, and there's no evidence of it, but what survived, it's the bacteria, the frogs, the little rodents. And I think no matter how much we do to control nature, the environment, whatever, once we're gone, the only evidence that we ever existed will actually be the relationships that we've had with this micro life.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what's going to be flying out into space and maybe seeding other worlds.
No PowerPoints today. So the Earth is spinning at the equator at 1,000 miles per hour. Do you know that? I mean, I've heard this before, but and the sun, we're going around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. Oh my gosh, that's so fast, and then we're traveling 448,000 miles per hour. Our solar system is moving through the Milky Way, and it's going to take us 230 million years as a solar system, our sun and all the planets, to travel through the Milky Way. And then the stars form in bursts, and what the point is, we're revolving as a planet, and we're revolving around the sun, and then the whole solar system is moving through the Milky Way, and then the Milky Way is moving. So that's why there's stardust everywhere. We're passing through. The stardust is everywhere around us, even if we don't see it. And as we were talking about before, this Big Bang you hear a lot about, like scientists recently are saying, well, it started with something the size of a pea. The whole universe is just this vast space, and then this pea explodes, and hydrogen, element one, helium element 2 to interact, and the sun transforms hydrogen into helium. And in that process, it spits out all kinds of other particles. And I thought that was, to me, very, very fascinating. Our sun is able to produce some of the periodic table, right? There's 92 items in the periodic table, and they're known by the number of protons in the nucleus. And it's doing it at 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I'm a blacksmith. Okay, if I get up over, 800 or so, I can melt aluminum. 900,000, 1,500, I can start to melt iron, And, I get up a little higher, I can not only melt it, I can burst it apart. So we don't even have a hot sun. We got kind of a mediocre sun, sorry. And so it's producing its helium and then some of the other elements. But the heavier elements, like gold, number 79 on the periodic table, it's not able to produce gold. So we got gold on Earth. Where does it come from? One theory is that you have to have a collision of two very, very bright stars with heat stronger than our sun. And when they collapse, then you start to get things like gold. But today, I wanted to talk about the Auntie story. Maybe I've mentioned it in passing in another book or something, or certainly no journal article would ever let me publish about Auntie story. So this is supposed to be an exclusive to Dr. D and Princess Gaia. So if we take Auntie's story, doesn't it mean anything to do with humans? What if it's just about the whole life of the universe and its relationship to the bigness of story, and to the microcosm? The Earth is spinning and the Earth is moving around the solar system is moving through the Milky Way, but these little microcosmos beings are swimming in my hand, moving in my hand, just wiggling. It was just amazing to contemplate that they're made of stardust and that I'm made of stardust. So I meant Auntie's story to be the entanglement between the microcosmos and the macrocosmos. So let's start defining it as about Gaia, about life. So take Gaia into a bigger relationship to the universe, Gaia of the Earth. And I was kind of saddened and awed that the Earth isn't going to last forever, and that our sun is not going to last forever. And there's kind of this timeline you can find yourselves that predicts how many years we have left as Earth. And so Earth has a life cycle, the sun has a life cycle, but the good news is all that as the Earth gets pulled into the orbit of the sun, into it, part of the sun that's the forge, that will happen as the sun is getting brighter and brighter every year. And as it gets brighter and brighter, we don't feel it because it's so gradual. But eventually, the core of the sun will implode and the sun itself will expand and encompass the orbit of the Earth. It's going to be way too hot for any living being. So what does that mean? It means that as it forges all the stardust around it, that will travel interstellarly and become part of the founding of other planets, other suns, other solar systems who are going to be traveling and whizzing through the universe. So that Auntie story about the relationship of water and stardust, I think, gets us down to some very basic understandings of storytelling. Think about that July 20th, we had our big rainstorm. The pond filled up. We had pictures of it running with the water as the pond fills up. And then within a week, these tadpoles were happening in the pond. Not all of them are going to hatch, and they're not going to all hatch every year, because if they did, they'd all, it would become so predictable as a species that the predators that eat them would just come and scavenge them all, and they'd be all gone. So they only release what they think they're going to need to survive as a species that year. So that means they got some incredible consciousness for figuring out, you know, the water quality. Am we going to have enough rain? How long is this pond going to be full? What other species are there? That raises the awareness of what little participants we are. We're much smaller participants than these little tadpoles in the water in my hand. You can see the water in my hand. In the water in my hand, in the microscope, as you see the microscope pictures, they're adapting, and they're very strategic about it. You know, they could teach management strategy a thing or two. What we looked at a week or two ago with the water bears, you know, those things can be in very, very cold temperatures that we would not have a chance to exist in. Very hot temperatures, they can withstand very high pressures, kinds of chemical environments that we wouldn't last at all, you know. So that's why they're millions and millions of years older than we are and more adaptive. No, we have destructive power. The technologies we've created, just going to, I don't think not going to help us. I mean, what technology are you going to use to keep the sun from imploding, however you want to word that, or the solar system from passing through the Milky Way, you know? And we're actually going to collide with another solar system, another two galaxies are collide. But the predictions are they're going to pass through each other and kind of merge. And I wish I knew more about Gaia. Well, Gaia is by definition, right? Livingness, right? It's an aliveness. Aliveness, you know, for me, I go out to the pond to see Gaia because I can see the life cycles of species in the pond. You know, so it's not just humans that we can see, or dogs and cats and horses that I love very much, but we got to learn to love the bacteria, the viruses, the microorganisms that we don't even have names for. There's one of the scientists said there's 35 trillion microorganisms, and we maybe know 500,000 of them. Maybe kind of gross to think about, but there's like 20,000 microorganisms crawling around in my hand, in addition to the ones I can see. There's all the ones I don't see. So it's, I don't know, it's exciting to have this breakthrough of thinking, to step out of the business college and realize that there's more to life than the economics department, and there's more to life than most of the disciplines of the university. But so I don't think we understand a lot about Gaia, you know. So we use this word living system, but what does that really mean if all the life forms are at a different scale of size and they're on a different time scale? So the more you watch it, the more you see that Gaia has all these species. It seems like harmony to me. Like they've got the ability to have their young, for the young to grow, for the find a mate, propagate, they grow, and then the pond water goes away and they all wait for the next year. So it seems like harmony to me. U.S. system of capitalism. Why would you want to mess that up by putting roads in and draining the swamps, which we've done for a couple centuries, actually since the conquistadors came over? We have a very, very rude and crude way of living on the planet as Westerners. And I think the indigenous cultures are having a much gentler footprint when they step on Gaia. They're like careful where they step. They're going, okay, I have to eat this buffalo or this deer, but I'm thankful, I'm grateful for that. I'm sorry I have to feed my family, but I'm going to do it. I'm only going to take as much as I need and move on. So we all had that kind of approach to Gaia, we wouldn't have near as many problems as we're having today. But we're, we have a very impermanence existence, as tadpoles and as fairy shrimp and as humans. So there's much that we can learn from each other. Yeah, it's just so amazing, isn't it? That we're moving so fast around the globe, and the globe moving around the sun, the solar system moving through the Milky Way. Yet we can't find 5 minutes to talk to each other, or to, everybody says, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. In India, Jainism, I don't know if you know, Grace Ann and I practice Jainism. So we always try to have the least impact on life that we can. That's why we're vegetarians, vegans. That's why we don't eat meat. So there's a prayer I say several times a day, every morning, every night, that I'd like to share, and you can put it on or not. And if I get it wrong, it's just because I get nervous when I'm doing like prayer things, Om Namo Ariyantarnam. I bow down to all souls who conquer their inner enemies, so that I can learn to conquer my own inner enemies. Om Namo Siddharnam. I bow down to those souls who reach perfection, kind of an enlightenment thing. Om Namo Ariyanam. I bow down to all those souls who practice before preaching or teaching to their masters. So I consider you masters to always practice before I come in and talk to you. And Om Namo Vajinam. I bow down to all souls who experience the truth, the teachers of mankind. I just love that phrase for teachers, to try to get to the truth and share it. And then Namo Lowe Sava Sahanam. I bow down to all saints. Before it was souls. Now I bow down to all saints everywhere who walk the spiritual path of awareness. That's why I'm sharing this with you, because to walk in Gaia with the spiritual path of awareness, I think is a big deal, So you want to bow down to all of those saints of whatever persuasion that can do that. And Namaloi, Saham, you repeat a bunch of things, and then you say, this is the most blessed of all benedictions. This benediction will protect you from all harm. So in that prayer is, I think, just about everything I need to set my compass.